Of Lake Pepin in southern Minnesota. 6 adults and 3 children were ice fishing on Sunday night when that floe separated. The local fire department says the group should have never been out there in the first place because of how much that ice had melted. There were even boats in the water at the time. One northern Minnesota couple now dead after being caught in the middle of a police pursuit in North Carolina. A deputy was chasing another car on Friday near Fayetteville when the couple tried crossing an intersection. The squad car hit their vehicle. The 2 cars then rolled off the roadway. The victims are identified as 65-year-old Brian Finch and 64-year-old Patricia Finch, both of East Gull Lake. The deputy was also injured. Time now for a look at our fast track forecast with meteorologist Lisa Green. And we are starting things off with a beautiful sunrise. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, pretty spectacular here in Fargo. We've got this gorgeous view and it's nice to see it before the 7 o'clock hour as well. Officially sunrise at 6:56 from the ground level. We're watching this from our tower so we can see it a little sooner from higher up. Looking at our temperature right now, though it looks warm out there, doesn't feel like it. We're at 3 below right now, and we are factoring in that northerly breeze still at 12 miles per hour, and that makes it feel more like it's 21 below right now in Fargo. Moorhead at the airport there, 2 below for your temperature. Grand Forks looking to the west, we've got those clouds kind of taking over here across a good portion of the valley, seeing some of those in Grand Forks. We are at 5 below for your temperature, north wind at 10, and it feels like 23 below. So again, a morning to dress like it's January again here today. Looking at more snow moving in as well. We've got the clouds spreading in first, and then gradually we'll see an increase in snow chances. This morning it's going to be more likely toward the James River Valley. It's going to take its time, but gradually it'll move in. Some of us may not see it until the evening commute or even beyond, especially if you're in northwest Minnesota. But the overall trend will be for that snow chance to increase as the day goes on, and we see those moisture areas increase. So looking this morning out at the bus stop, will be cold for the kids this morning, and then this afternoon warming more into the teens. Depends on where you are. There's going to be another range of temperatures out there, and there is that potential for a few flakes for the walk home from the bus stop. It'll be more increasing into tonight, carrying on into your Wednesday. That snow chance continues, and we'll see a few inches of snow in spots, maybe a little more in places, a little less in others. Another round of it Thursday, Friday for first alert weather days, where we're looking at the potential for some wind associated with that too. Now that wind, I'm not looking at an intense wind, but we're still looking at enough where it would be causing some drifting going on in addition to the snowfall creating some issues. So that's going to be our most impactful round, it looks like right now, of the 3 that we'll be seeing. Saturday, another one that brings measurable snow. So that will be one that carries on into Saturday night. Even as we're springing forward, it's going to be feeling much like we're still into winter. And then this will eventually ease off. And right now, next week, there are a couple of chances that aren't looking substantial, or I should say solid as far as when and where, but there is the possibility we could see a few flakes next week, but overall kind of quieting things down a little bit. Fingers crossed that we can get a break heading into next week, but it's going to be a tough go of it here. And this morning is kind of our break right now until that snow moves in later on.
I am soaking up this sunrise. I'm preparing myself mentally for this windy, wintry week. Thank you for the update so far this morning, though, Lisa.
You bet.
Time now is 6:53. A North Fargo animal rescue picking up the pieces now after last week's 13 inches of snow proved to be just too much for the roof of their 50-year-old barn. The collapse is forcing them to temporarily rehome 13 goats and stop many of their trainings and community activities with their 19 horses. Rob and Connie Faulkner say it could have been so much worse, though. Luckily, none of their volunteers, goats, horses, chickens, or even cats were injured at all. We do have a link on our VNL News app if you would like to donate to the Pride and Joy Rescue Farm. Winter weather can already wreak havoc on a person's vehicle or a person in general, as we know, but snow and ice can particularly impact your brakes. The Valley Today's Nashay Taylor joins us live this morning. She's geared up, she's in the news vehicle, but she's ready to pump the brakes. Tell us about what's going on this morning, Nashay.
Yeah, absolutely, Ashlyn. You know, mechanics say you should really be checking your brakes before you start heading into these roads as this winter continues. Now, they say the brakes rely on friction with the brake pads, and they say if snow and ice gets into that friction surface, that's when you may begin to see problems.
Like we call it brake fade, and that can make it feel like you're pushing and you have the same force to apply that you would normally feel to stop, but it makes you slow down way, way slower or feel like you just don't have brakes at all.
Yeah, they say you can check your brakes by doing a few test stops in an open, safe area. Right now, I'm in the garage, so you could do some test stops right inside, just where you're away from folks in traffic. Now, they say that allows the brakes to warm up and get some of that ice and snow off of there. But they say if the brakes do feel unsafe, bring it into your mechanic. Reporting live in Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
All right, great information this morning, Nishay. As we know, winter is far from over. Thank you again for that live look. One man now behind bars in the Otter Tail County Jail after a stabbing at the Rothsay truck stop. The sheriff's office says a 42-year-old woman was stabbed during a domestic dispute early yesterday morning, but is expected to be okay. 52-year-old John Fogelman on your screen of Rothsay was arrested for assault with a dangerous weapon. And there's new information this morning on a stabbing in Crookston that happened last Friday. Court documents say the victim was the mother of the man arrested. Officers saw 36-year-old Kevin Corona holding his mother down with both of his hands around her neck. Corona's mother says her son was living with her after getting out of prison, but was angry that she was moving to a new home. Police say she was stabbed at least 5 times. She had cuts on her eyes, cheek, and hand. Corona is being held without bond for attempted murder. A Watertown, South Dakota teacher is facing criminal charges of being sexually involved with a 16-year-old child. Police say 41-year-old Shanna Rise was arrested on Sunday. She's been teaching language arts to middle school and high school students in Henry, South Dakota. The city of Fargo joining a class action lawsuit against CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart pharmacies, as well as drug makers Teva and Allergan for their roles in the opioid crisis. The national settlement was for more than $20 billion. Fargo would receive a small fraction of that amount. The Minnesota House has now approved a funding package to support a variety of infrastructure projects in communities across the state, but its future in the Senate remains uncertain at this time. The $1.9 billion plan includes a large bonding bill and $400 million in cash from the general fund. Some proposals include upgrades to buildings at the University of Minnesota and Minnesota State Systems, as well as improvements to local roadways and bridges.
Where we have to start putting together the 2023 bonding bill, which I've referred to as the with or without you bill. We would really like to do that with Republicans. But at the end of the day, it's not acceptable to Minnesotans to go this long without another bonding bill.
While the bill passed through the House with little trouble, Senate Republicans are making it clear they are not going to play ball unless tax cuts are on the way.
We just want them to know that bill is going to be dead on arrival, because we believe that we need to see some tax cuts tied to that.
The legislature will need to pass the next 2-year budget before session's end. It might seem a bit early to start talking about tick season, but Minnesota outdoor experts say it actually starts this month. And there's a species new to the U.S. that's threatening cattle across the Midwest. It's called the Asian longhorn tick. It spreads a disease that causes anemia and eventually death in cows. It's not as severe for humans, but it is still dangerous. Once your snow melts, you can help make your yard less tick-friendly, officials say, by keeping your grass mowed down and cleaning up the dead leaves that got left over the winter season. Heads up if you're heading to Florida for spring break, you may be greeted with hundreds of dead fish. The red tide reportedly only getting worse and is impacting beaches all along Florida's Gulf Coast, from the Tampa Bay area all the way to Sarasota. The harmful algae blooms that grow in the sea can produce toxic effects to fish and can make the surrounding air difficult to breathe, not to mention the smell. And it was a good old-fashioned chicken roundup in Kentucky. Take a look at your screen. Police and bystanders went to work after a semi-truck carrying the birds overturned on a highway yesterday. Whoa, look at that destruction. That crash allowed a number of live chickens to escape their cages and roam free. The road has since reopened, but it was a game of chicken they weren't ready for. Thank you for joining us this morning. Take care.